Camilla, these are such impactful things. I feel like tiny wins is not an appropriate name because these are big things. Welcome, Camilla. Thank you for joining us at GitHub Checkout.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So I'm so thrilled to talk to you today because this is a very little known project, but one that is so impactful to so many of us. You're part of the team that's been actively working on tiny wins for maintainers. And the name, by the way, is perfect. And these are all projects, sort of paper cuts, things that the maintainer community and open source community have wanted GitHub to address for a long time. And please correct me if I'm wrong. That has been sort of the focus.
Yep, exactly. So we've been sourcing feedback across various platforms such as community discussions, Slack channels, various social media platforms like X and Reddit, direct conversations with maintainers, and surveys to identify the highest priority areas and highly requested features that we've seen from maintainers over the course of years. And we've been taking this feedback and rapidly shipping improvements in 1 to 2 week timeframes. So the goal has been to move fast while also focusing on what's going to impact maintainers' experiences on GitHub the most.
Amazing. And today you're going to show us some of these tiny wins, right?
Yes, exactly. So we started this initiative about 6 months ago in July of 2025. Here's the list of all 15 releases that we shipped over the past 6 months. So we have streamlining pull request reviews, handling notification overload, making actions workflows clearer, improving the code viewing experience, helping contributors find their way, and better organization controls. We're super excited to have released these. These are all highly requested from the maintainer community. And I'm going to go ahead and demo some of these so you could see some of the improvements that we made for maintainers. So previously, this is what handling merge conflicts looked like in GitHub. So you can see that there's 2 merge conflicts in this PR. If you wanted to accept the current change here, which is line 47, you'd have to go in and manually delete the syntax on line 46 and then also delete lines 48 through 50. If you wanted to accept the incoming change, you'd have to keep line 49 and delete lines 46 through 48 and line 50. And if you wanted to keep both changes, you'd have to delete all of the syntax on line 46, 48, and 50. So you could see how that's a lot of manual work, can be very tedious, especially if you have a very large PR and lots of merge conflicts. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we did. Here's a PR that I created in one of my repos. If I scroll down, you could see that I have merge conflicts in my About page file. If I hit Resolve Conflicts, you can see these new buttons that we added. These are consistent with what users will see in code editors like VS Code. The first one allows you to accept the current change. So if you hit that, you'll see that this first line remains in the code. I can hit Command Z to undo that change, accept the incoming change, which is on line 10. And then lastly, I can accept both changes. And once I'm done, I could hit Mark as resolved and commit the merge into my main branch. The goal for this was to reduce the amount of manual work for maintainers, improve their work stream, and allow them to be more productive on GitHub by making handling merge conflicts a lot easier and quicker. Also, they don't have to context switch anymore. So they were previously doing things like this in their code editors. Now they can do it all in GitHub.
That's amazing. I've definitely been using this a lot and it's saving me a ton of time. So, hey, a heck of a win there for maintainers.
Awesome. Love to hear it. So moving on to our next release, I'm going to talk about adding WebP image support. This was first requested by the community in 2021 and was highly requested ever since. WebP is a modern image format which was developed by Google, and it allows you to save high quality images in smaller sizes when compared to formats like JPEG and PNGs. So it's a really popular choice for web performance, which is why this feature was so highly requested. Previously, when a user would upload a WebP image into issues, discussions, pull requests, or gists, they would either see broken previews or in certain cases, they'd have to download the raw file in order to see the WebP image. So I have an issue opened up here. And if I go ahead and upload 2 WebP images, I'm uploading one that's animated, one that's static. If I go into the preview, you could see both of those images rendered in line.
Wow. So cool.
Similarly, I added both of those images to my repo. Now when I click on the files, you can see them as well without having to download the raw file in order to see it. This allows developers to use WebP images without having to compromise to other formats. and also just allows us to support this highly performant image format, which is awesome. So moving on to our next tiny win, this one was to add clear distinctions for PR, reviewer status, and approvals. So this first came to us as an accessibility issue. Here's an example of a PR, and if you look on the right-hand side at the reviewers, you can see there's 3 check marks. The first 2 check marks are green, and the third one is gray. And the reason that's important is because the green check mark means that you got approval on your PR from a user with write access. And the gray check mark means that you got an approval on a PR from a user without write access. So that could mean they have read-only access, they are not a member of your repo, or they might not be a member of your org anymore. And that's important because certain repos have merge requirements set up so that you can only merge a PR if you get an approval from a user with write access. So there were cases where users would get approval from users without write access, but this wasn't clear to them because the color distinction is so subtle, which is also an accessibility issue. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we did to solve this. So here's an example of a PR from the Home Assistant repo. And if you look on the right side, you can see that we added this collapsible section. If you hover over the collapsible section, there's a tooltip that says reviewers whose approval may not affect merge requirements. We're using grouping now to clearly indicate the status of your reviewers. So any reviewer without write access will appear in this collapsible section, and everyone else will appear up above. So this makes it a lot easier for PR authors to understand merge requirements and who their approvals are coming from. The fourth tiny win I'm going to show you is a change we made to add contributing guidelines to a repository's tab and sidebar. Open source projects typically have a file called the contributing file, which is a markdown file that gives contributors guidelines on how you can contribute to the project. So for example, this is the Node.js repository. And if you scroll down through the files, you'll see the contributing.md file, which has guidelines on how you can contribute, code of conduct, and a lot of important information for a new contributor to get started. The problem that we were having before is this file wasn't surfaced anywhere, and it was very hard to find for new contributors, especially those who didn't know a lot about open source. How would they know to look for this file? So what we did was we added a tab for the contributing guidelines in this overview section. We were already surfacing other important documents like the README, code of conduct, license, and security information. So we added a contributing tab. So this is a lot easier to find now. Also on the right-hand sidebar, there's a link up here that also directs you to the contributing tab. So it's a lot more discoverable now for new users to get onboarded to a project.
Amazing. So important.
The last tiny win I'm going to talk about is an improvement we made to handle how spam notifications are shown in a user's notifications inbox. I'm going to show you what the experience looked like before we implemented our fix. This is a user's notification inbox. As you can see on the left side, the notification counter is showing that they have 9 unread notifications. And if you look down in the repositories section, it's showing that they have 1 unread notification for each repo. The user's clicking on their inbox right now, but you can see there's no notifications in there. And on the right-hand side, that counter doesn't add up with what they're seeing. So the problem here was that users were receiving notifications that were from other users or repositories that were then being marked as spam, which caused those notifications to be removed from their inbox, but the counters weren't properly updating. So we were able to clean this up, and along the way, we were able to remove approximately 6 million spam-related notifications across.
Wow, 6 million. My gosh, you made a lot of people's days for sure.
Yeah, so it's great to have improved the notification experience and also have been able to do this cleanup work along the way.
I know I've been a victim of those ghost notifications, and that's one thing that was every couple of months it will surface on social, somebody complaining about it, adding the screenshot. So happy that that's solved, and the other 4 wins are also epic. What's next for this team? Like, what are you going to be focusing, and where can people give you feedback?
What's top of mind right now is mostly improving the PR experience and providing more ways for maintainers to customize their experience with PRs. So specifically, we're exploring solutions for a huge problem that we're continuing to see, where open source projects are being flooded with low quality contributions that are coming in the form of issues, comments, or PRs. And a lot of this is being accelerated by AI. So we're actively investigating what we can do both in the short term and long term to help with that problem. Aside from that, also looking into high priority areas like notifications and actions. For feedback, feel free to create a discussion post in the GitHub community or in the maintainer community, and we could provide links for both of those places.
Thank you so much, Camilla, for showing us all the hard work this team has been doing and how you improve the quality of life for a lot of maintainers and just open source in general. And shout out to you and your team, because thank you. This is all awesome. Please don't forget to go by the GitHub community and leave discussions with feedback on any of the tiny wins you saw today. And stay tuned for the upcoming improvements that are going to make the quality of life for maintainers and contributors so much better. I know personally, I don't take for granted being the home for open source. It's a huge privilege and a great honor. And I'm so happy to see that we're investing heavily and making it so much easier for maintainers and contributors to continue to be a part of the open source ecosystem. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Push those changes to main, and I'll catch you on the next release.